This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. WFO Radio is on the air. If you like NHRA drag racing or the performance industry at large, then you need to share the show because we've got a great show as we'll be previewing the 2021 Performance Racing Industry Trade Show with NHRA announcer Alan Reinhardt. Myself, we're both going to be there. We're both super excited because there wasn't one last year. And so we're going to see everybody and get back out there and, mow the lawn, as Alan says, up and down the aisles, and lots of big news going to be happening and maybe some news on this show. Not exactly sure yet, but maybe there will be some big breaking news on this show. So stick around. And if you're a fan of NHRA drag racing, motorsports, NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, whatever, I think you'll get something out of this particular show, as we'll be talking PRI, and we'll be talking with people out there, fans of the show, watching on YouTube and Twitter and wherever they watch WFO Radio. And what's up to everybody watching on the WFO Radio mobile application, which is free in the App Store and Google Play. And you can watch the show on YouTube through the app, which is something new that I figured out. Yeah. Figuring out the technology, right? Can I do this? Will this, if I did this and this and this, will it connect to that and work? And when I tweet it out, it will go? Yes. The answer is yes. And so the WFO mobile app is back in action. Good afternoon to everybody all around the world, wherever you happen to be, everybody checking in. If you want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to do WFO Radio, and it has been really amazing over the course of the season. Folks like Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, their Dragster Adventure program, but everything they've done to get drivers licensed and new personalities coming up through Frank Hawley. And I was just watching literally minutes ago the newest Nitro Time Machine posted by Brian on NHRA. I don't need to say Brian Loans anymore, right? Everybody knows Brian on NHRA.com, and it's from the North Star Nationals, the inaugural race in Brainerd, and Kenny Bernstein has a big supercharger explosion. But right in the middle is maybe a third of the way in, a great interview with Frank Hawley. He's got a Ringer T-shirt. He's wearing like his Stroh's beer hat. I don't know what it is, but you could see the guy's the same guy. And to think what would go on to become world champion a couple of times and one of the greatest drivers in the history of the NHRA, start the school and become a WFO sponsor from the very beginning. Amazing stuff. Go check that out. FrankHawley.com. Thank you, Frank and Lana Hawley. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. If you're going to PRI, it is my understanding they're going to be there. And that's where they get a lot of their new students, people who are interested but don't realize the benefits of going to samtech.edu, whether you're going to be a CNC programmer, whether you're going to be an EFI tuner, whether you're going to be a good old-fashioned machinist. They can get you started and put you in the right direction. Great foundational knowledge and placement. Once you graduate and they know that you know what you're doing, and you're not going to embarrass them with one of their great clients, they can connect you, which is a great thing. Can't wait to see those guys up there at PRI. Also, Total Seal Piston Rings, booth number 1525. Booth number 1525, right in the middle. Just look up at the ceiling. You want to find Total Seal, just look up and find the little Total Seal ring that's right over their booth. They've got a new product announcement that's going to be happening. We're going to be doing some hidden horsepower episodes in the booth. We're going to be doing some content in the booth, so I'll be there hanging out, and you can swing by. I'll be there a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, and that's going to be my base camp for the most part of the event. But TotalSeal.com. Got a lot of great things going on the website. You can order individual rings. And did you know that if you buy pistons that come with rings, they can modify those rings? Like, I know a lot of people are thinking like, oh man, the pistons I bought came with rings and I don't want to throw them away and get a new set of rings. Well, you can just send them to Total Seal and they can gas port them or whatever you want. That is just another great benefit of what's going on over there at Total Seal. So check them out. And remember, booth 1525. That's right. We'll see you over there. And Marvin Rodak. Rodak's not going to be at PRI. But get this. I want to tell you about the person that is Marvin Rodak. You know yesterday that Sean Bellemere was on the show and that Rachel Meyer was on the show as when our Parade of Champions continued. And if you don't know, yeah, we did a Monday show. It's up on YouTube. It's up on Twitter. It's up on the website. It's everywhere that's WFO. You should be able to find it. But Rachel Meyer broke some interesting news, not necessarily coming back next year to defend her championship. That was, I don't want to say it was a bummer. It's a decision she's making, but you got to go watch the interview and see where her head's at on the deal. But Sean Bellemere was first up, and the first thing he says, he's like, I've never had any Rodex coffee. Next thing you know, I'm getting a text from Marvin. Marvin is sending Sean a little championship celebration coffee, the WFO Radio Blend. You can get some too, 817-924-6821. But just like Reinhardt makes birthday announcements only if they're on the rear window of a pro stock car, I think you only get a little Rodex coffee sent to you if you win a championship and ask for it. Something like that. But call Marvin, send out those holiday packs. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about our own WFO radio gear and how to get some and how to get some free stickers and all that stuff. But now it is time for our PRI preview and a little conversation with the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt. AR, how are you?
I'm all right. How about you?
I was thinking about this the other day. I say it a lot, since 2005, 2006, we've been doing this show, whether it was on XM Satellite Radio, Power Shift, NHRA Tuesday, the first ever nationwide NHRA radio broadcast, or on WFO when we switched to the podcast format. But when PRI was in Orlando and we went up and brought the show up there and we did our first on the road show in the Red Line Oil booth, thanks to Cameron Evans, you introduced me to Matt Hartford years ago. And man, look at this. Years later, Hartford's running pro stock on a regular basis. I'm working with you at the NHRA. Total Seal is going to have me up in their booth to do some hidden horsepower. What if you said, Hartford, don't come over to WFO? Things might have been different.
Well, it sounds like I should get a commission on, the advertising revenue that you get, since obviously I'm the one that made the connection. And yeah.
That's an interesting angle. I'm not against those kind of spiffs, of course. Or, you could get some free WFO swag. Ooh.
Oh, there you go. Long sleeve shirt. I wear those when I ride the motorcycle. So,
very good.
Yeah, Orlando. Actually, my friend of mine and I were talking about that just yesterday. He was over here and I was talking about going in, and he said, I think the last time we went was Orlando, right? And I said, yeah, I think it was. But I'm glad it's back in Indy. I think Indy's where, Orlando is a neat little town, no doubt about it. But I think Indy's where this particular trade show belongs.
Okay, so on that note, as you know, I was very against the move from Orlando, and you can understand why, because it was an easy drive up there and the weather and avoiding the cold and all of that. But now I agree. It's Indy is such a great town. At that time, I didn't fully understand the downtown area, the fun, the nightlife, the networking, everyone is forced by design to be in 1 square mile for 4 straight days. It makes for a day and night atmosphere that is second to none for the racing industry. And, yes, last week I did that EPAR trade deal, all kinds of big news coming out throughout the deal, especially from NHRA. We can talk a little bit about that. They dropped some stuff on me that I was unaware of. Pretty neat. But the sharing of news in one spot, like getting everybody from the whole industry together, Formula One related people and IndyCar and go-karts, and just all of it all together makes for some great cross-pollination that you can't get anywhere else. And at Orlando, as much as it was much warmer and you could go to the parks at night, you had less of that, right? Because everybody kind of retreated after the show closed to their own thing and maybe would bring the fam and go walk and see Mickey and the mouse, that is. I agree this is better.
Well, it's interesting because when it went down to Orlando, I was talking to one of the vendors one time, and I said something about, that it being a kind of a better venue. And he said, I don't think so. And I said, really? And my thinking is, for people that work in racing, right, you spend a lot of time away from the family. You spend time when you're traveling, if you're going to the events, if you're going, testing, if you're going doing whatever you got to do. And then during the winter break, now you're leaving the family again to go to Indy for 3 or 4 days and go to a trade show where, if it's in Orlando, you can bring the family, right? Who doesn't want to go to Orlando? And like you said, you can go see the mouse or you can go hang out. There's so much stuff to do in Orlando. It's such a tourist town anyway, that you could go down there, spend your days at the trade show, make a kind of a family vacation out of it. And the guy said, yeah, that's the problem. He said, there's so much else to do here.
Right.
He said, when you're in Indy, if it's cold, especially if the weather's not nice, if it's snowing, if it's just not a good time to be outside, then everybody's kind of locked in. And that's when there's so much more that happens. Where at, Orlando, it's like, okay, well, we're talking to a guy. We got, hey, let's kick some of this around. Got to go meet my wife. We're going to deal. And that it was just another distraction. So I can kind of see both sides of it, but I like downtown Indy. It's one of my favorite downtowns in the country, and I've visited quite a few of them. But I also think that it's so much better now because PRI Indy, before they rebuilt the convention center, before they built Lucas Oil Stadium, before they did the whole downtown revamp, was bursting at the seams, literally. The show had taken over the building and there just wasn't enough room. You could spend 3 days walking the halls and still not see everybody because, so-and-so's upstairs around the corner tucked in a closet. So-and-so's downstairs, across the street over in the alley. And now, since Indy revamped their convention center and everything is inside one roof, and you literally can go mow the lawn and see everything. And it used to literally be, you would be leaving the building, going upstairs, going downstairs, going around the corner, and you had to seek out some of the vendors. And now it's so much easier. That was part of the big move to Orlando. The Orange County Convention Center down there is however many square feet it is, but everybody was in the same space down in Orlando. And that, I think, kind of set a fire under the folks in Indianapolis to rebuild the convention center. And, once they got it done, we went back up. What was the name of the show that was in Indy for a couple of years before PRI went back? Do you remember that?
Oh, man.
We were talking about it yesterday and couldn't come up with it.
NCIS? I don't know. I something? Well, the audience, we got the virtual producers. Who's going to PRI? Hey, everybody, what was the name of the trade show that was up in Indy that was kind of like a rival trade show to PRI for a while when it was in Orlando? And they kind of merged, right? Didn't they merge something? Someone was
Indy, when PRI was down in Orlando, and they obviously had a long-term contract with the community to do that, and Indy wanted them back, and there was kind of a little debate going. So there was a couple of guys, I believe Tony Stewart was involved, but there was a couple of guys that got together and got this whatever the small show was in Indy going for a couple of years. And then that kind of I think that was the realization for PRI that that's where they really needed to be. So they moved back.
Excellent. We got a lot of people out there checking in. Rick Salazar saying open. He is ready to go. Jim Zimmerman says attention in the pits, WFO to the lanes. Speaking of attention in the pits, the show that we do, Steve Yantis, a Hemi-car, up on NHRA's YouTube right now. Details of a Travis Hess paint job, the likes of which, like, we did our best. Nikki got in as close as she could, and we're working with the sun to try to find all the hidden lines that Travis put in there. It's up now. It was just released today, I believe, and so go find that. It's great stuff. But everybody's checking in, Alan. Everybody's excited about what's going on. Everybody's saying hello. Roger Richards out there. Lonnie's out there. Everybody's saying what's up to Alan Reinhardt and what's going on. Happy Tuesday to Joe and Alan. So I had somebody put me on the spot on the Ignition Show. Last night on the Ignition Show, we had like a worldwide drag racing discussion. People from the UK, from Australia, all around. And like, what are your top 5 expectations, coming out of PRI new stuff? And I couldn't come up with 5 just because I don't really know. It could be more than 5, right? There's a lot of potential breaking news, but the top story, at least for us, is what's Caps going to do? Like, all right, let's get this Caps thing off the desk. Where's he going? What's happening? What's the story with Ron Caps?
Well, it's going to be the new Nhra Motorsports, Joe, Allen, and Ron that we talked about, a month or so ago. That,
yes,
he's teaming up with us, and that's going to be it. So, yeah, he's going to drive. I'm going to crew chief. Joe's going to do everything else because
that's what I do. I do everything else.
But no, I think that's one of the real big NHRA stories that's coming out. I think there's some other stuff behind the scenes that people are going to be surprised by. It's so difficult in this business to keep a secret, but I do know that there's a few things that are going on out there that you're going to hear about. Some of it's probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people. Some of it maybe not quite so much, but it'll be things that are being made official, things that have been talked about and kicked around. And there's going to be a lot of things I think that are going to be finalized there. I've talked to so many people that's like, hey, let's schedule getting together because the building is so big. And it's very easy to go spend 3 days there and never run across somebody if you don't make a point to do it. It's the classic deal, right? There's some people that you bump into 17 times during the course of your weekend. And then there's some people where you get to Saturday afternoon and go, I have never seen him. I don't know. I mean, I know he's here. And so when you're reaching out to people and going, hey, let's make a point to get together, whether it's meet for lunch, whether it's have a cocktail at the end of the day, or whether it's just, I will meet you at the Seal Power, at the Total Seal booth at noon. Let's get together and say hi, to figure out how to make that happen. And the number of people that I've reached out to, and they're like, okay, well, I've got this meeting, I've got that meeting, I've got this thing going on, I've got this. So there's a lot of stuff that I think is going to be finalized there. There are years when you go in and you are just have your list of announcements that are coming out. We all know Ron Capps is going to make an announcement. Yes. But there's a lot of other things that are going to happen that I think people aren't aware of exactly what's going on. So that's why you go walk around, and that's where you find out.
Okay, it was the IMIS. What did I say? NCIS, which is the name of a TV show. Right. IMIS was the name of the show, the International Motorsports Industry Show.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay.
There it is.
Good.
And Richards says these guys have teamed up on us, and they say that we should get Jim Head part of our team, and that way we could be jarheads.
There you go.
It's going to be a silly show, guys. This is going to be a little bit of a silly show. But if you're going to PRI, let us know, and it'll be pretty cool. Hey, Joe, you should bring your GTO tires to PRI and show what not to bring to the track. Yeah, exactly. I'm so proud of myself, Alan, that I did not go out and race them. But we're working on getting new tires for the GTO, everybody. Jeremy says get ready. He's going to leave chilly Minnesota and road trip to PRI. Well, exactly. And this is what this is for. People are hopefully going to watch and listen and get excited about what's going on at PRI now. All right, so the Capps deal, Friday 1:30 is what he told us. Last week, this eparttrade.com racing industry week is like an online PRI style event, right? But a big Zoom call, and I hosted some things, and it was really interesting. Zach Brown from McLaren was on there. Ross Braun was on there. Michael Andretti was on there, and Ron Capps joined me, and he used the word publicly. He used the word ownership. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out, to not steal thunder from the announcement, but he said it publicly. The announcement will be Friday at 1:30, which is what he said. Of course, all information heard on WFO is subject to change, except for my name and Alan Reinhardt, as far as I know. But also, Brad Gerber joined me on the show, and he dropped some interesting things about the television shows that NHRA's got in pre-production. American Blacktop and Give Me My Shot. A couple of secondary programming shows that aren't like the racing, but about drag racing themes. And he released the name of the studio that's doing some of the pre-production. They're going to try to pitch it to various networks and streaming services. And we all know there's 1,000 of those out there now. So I got excited about that. I know it has been mentioned, but to hear the names, right? American Blacktop and Give Me My Shot out of Brad's mouth got me kind of fired up for it.
Well, and the new game is, if it's not officially out, I think they're doing some testing with it, doing some stuff now. So that's another thing. There's going to be a new computer game, an online game that fans can get involved with. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know that we'll have a Monday night racing series like, the iRacing guys do, but I think that's something that conceivably could happen in the future. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of things going on right now. Some that is, kind of officially known, and some that's not necessarily officially known. But that's part of the reason that we go to the PRI show. A lot of stuff gets finalized there. A lot of stuff gets announced there. And there's a lot of stuff that actually starts there. Like you talked about when, you first met Matt Hartford. There have been a number of times over the years when I've bumped into somebody at PRI that started a conversation that, maybe we revisit later on in the year, or maybe next year it comes up and it's like, it's always there. Hey, remember what we were talking about? Looked at this, did that. But that's what it's all about. It's the face-to-face interaction. And, for all of the good things that electronic communication does these days, I personally believe that there's still no substitute for, meeting a guy and talking to him face-to-face.
And I think that's the racer mentality too. As much as digital is great, and I'm always pushing ahead, the doers, the makers, the people who build stuff, the people who blow stuff up, just like a face-to-face relationship. And you're right. There are projects that I have been working on, and this is just me, right, with WFO, that extend over multiple PRIs, and then they come together. Here it is, like 4 years later. Hey, we're doing it finally. You got to have plans. All right, so we got some questions out there as well. So we'll back and forth with some PRIs and that kind of stuff, and some questions as well. First of all, I want to mention the Snowbird Nationals, right? The Winter Series in Florida was always a big deal. And whether it was big money bracket racing in Orlando and then Moroso and then over there at what was DeSoto Motorsports Park and owned by Art Malone, and now is Bradenton Motorsports Park. But they just had the Snowbird Nationals. It's like a 50-year legacy race. They had 50 pro mods there, which is just spectacular. Brian Loans was down there, and along with Al Tucci calling the action. Melanie Salemi wins the race, which I think is exciting. With all that we've got going on pro mod, think about there's 50 of them down there. Of course, everybody's trying to get out of the cold and get out of the snow and get one last race in before the holidays. Makes perfect sense. Snowbird Nationals. But way to go, Melanie Salemi, for picking up a win, and for all of those 50 pro mod racers for going down there and getting together.
Yeah, well, Melanie's pretty good. Isn't exactly breaking news.
Yeah.
She's been doing this for quite a few years, and it's kind of amazing to me how much the females are having success in the pro mod category. Not so much necessarily on the NHRA side, but you look at, like Dina Parisi is done very well with Lizzie Musey has done very well.
Yes.
And, Melanie, obviously. So they get over there, and, I think they really like mixing it up with the guys, and especially when they win. And, she has had a very good car, very good team for a long time. So I'd say it's not exactly breaking news. There's a couple of guys that I interact with on a pretty regular basis that said going in, I'll be surprised if Melanie's not at least in the final round. And maybe they knew something that the rest of us didn't.
Well, she had a really quick car, in doing some of that radio versus the world stuff too. Very quick, very fast, but congratulations. And now I guess drag racing season in 2021 is officially over. We got a couple of bracket races, but that is it. Lauren's question, I was just reading about Fontana Drag Strip on Competition Plus, that they have decided to close it down at Auto Club Speedway, the NASCAR facility out there. And Lauren, who is a diehard drag racing fan, Alan, and I think she watches every show just about. What is the reason why so many NHRA drag strips are closing down for good? And this is kind of a negative perspective of the normal churn, but I want to talk a little bit about it, because there are some tracks that are closing down right now, yes, but there are tracks that are coming online also. It's like a normal cycle of life somewhat. Britt Kepner had a lot to say earlier about that in the year. We talked about, 10 tracks are closing, well, 15 started. It just depends on where you are and what the situation is. My deal with Palm Beach, we're all hoping beyond hope that the rumors are not true and that the soil samples are bad and all of that stuff. But what's your answer for Lauren out there?
A circle of life. I think, you look at, and it's kind of interesting from a perspective of, okay, we want to build a drag strip. You obviously aren't going to build one downtown anywhere in most cases. So we need to get out of town. Now, you can't get too far out of town, because if you get too far out of town, you end up with Topeka syndrome. I mean, I love the racetrack in Topeka. They built it out there because there's plenty of room and wide open spaces. And obviously Kansas City is the big market that's closed. But people in Kansas City look at that as way out there, and a lot of them aren't willing to make the trip. And so you need to be close enough to whatever your metropolitan region is that you can draw fans, that you can be relevant there. But you need to be far enough away that you don't get overrun, because urban sprawl is coming for you. Atlanta, the first year I went to Atlanta, it was way out of town. I mean, you would leave Atlanta, and then you would drive and drive and drive and drive and drive. And okay, there's the racetrack finally. But it got to the point where you never were out of town between driving from Atlanta to driving to Atlanta Dragway. So urban sprawl runs it over. And then you get to the point where the dirt underneath the racetrack is just worth so much more than the racetrack. You can't not sell. It's the same thing that happened to Houston. When Houston opened up out in Baytown, they were way out there. There was nothing anywhere near that place when they opened. And now the town has expanded not just to it, to past it. And you get to that point. I had a really interesting conversation with Billy Meyer this past year when we were at the Texas Motorplex. and talking about, the longevity. And he said, I never in my wildest dreams thought we'd be here 35 years. He said, the business plan when we opened the place was 25 years. Our thought was, we're going to come in, we're going to make this investment. It's going to be a 25-year business, because in 25 years, we see the urban sprawl and the stuff that it's going to either have to move, or we're going to have to make some major changes. And for those who follow the sport closely, I'm sure you know that at one point he was looking at moving it to Grand Prairie. There was an opportunity there, theme park, some other stuff where he could be in town or closer in town and basically be surrounded by zoning that would keep him there. And so that's about the only way you're going to move one into town. Didn't happen. But he was very surprised that the racetrack was still there, because, nothing lasts forever. And so that's what you end up with. We want to build a racetrack far enough out that we're not going to get run over by, urban sprawl and civilization in the next 5 years. But it's also got to be close enough that people that we want to come visit will come visit. It fascinates me. I live in Tucson, Arizona. It's 100 miles from Tucson to Phoenix. It's also 100 miles from Phoenix to Tucson.
Yep.
But people in Tucson go to Phoenix regularly for whatever, right? You want to go see a Cardinal game. You want to go see a Diamondback game. You want to go, you want to go. For people in Tucson, going to Phoenix is kind of a normal thing. Try to get somebody in Phoenix to go to Tucson. And their mentality is, why would I go all the way down there? It's like, well, we come up here. Well, of course you do. You come up here because this is the big city. But, we're not driving all the way down there because there's nothing there that we can't get here. So they think. And that's, I think, the same mentality that you have between Topeka and Kansas City. People in Topeka drive to Kansas City, don't think anything about it, right? Whether you're going to a football game, whether you're going to a baseball game, whether you're going to go shopping, whether you're going to go whatever, you're going to go to Kansas City. But tell somebody in Kansas City, hey, there's a big thing going on out in Topeka. And they go, way out in Topeka? I'm not going way out into Topeka. And so you've got to find somewhere in there that's a sweet spot. The closer you get to town, the worse your possibility, and probably the sooner you're going to get overrun by urban sprawl. The farther you get away from town, the more difficult it is to get people to come out to visit your events. And that's forever been an issue when you're trying to build any kind of a sports stadium, especially one that makes noise like we do.
Right. The weekly program is the deal. Like at Homestead Miami Speedway and, Auto Club Speedway, and they had a drag strip there. And we've always aspired to have a drag strip at Homestead Miami Speedway. But there's a big difference between, 3 big giant events a year and then some testing, et cetera, and so on, and a weekly drag racing program. And from what I understand out in Fontana, based on the Competition Plus story, that, those noise people, right? Oh, man, it's too noisy. My house was shaking. I don't want to hear the sound. And that's one of the reasons why they never proceeded with the drag strip at Homestead, at least not yet, because the locals there, the Thursday night, how are you going to make money? Well, we're going to be open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, test and tune and whatever. There's going to be noise a lot. And those noise restriction folks, they're not into it. So I think that's the deal. And it is a bit unfortunate, but what are you going to do? You're going to move further out or get quieter?
One group that has done an amazing job by becoming so intertwined with the community that the people don't want them to run away is Bandimere. The houses are getting closer and closer and closer to Bandimere. The first time I went to that racetrack, you couldn't see a house with a telescope. And you've been there just the last, you've been going out there now 5-6 years.
Yep.
And they've been getting closer and closer and closer every year. But it's interesting that for anybody that is like looking at a home, looking in that area, part of the prospectus is, oh, by the way, we've got a racetrack and you're going to hear the racetrack. Now, they run very seasonally, obviously, because you're not going to run a racetrack in January in Denver, but it's, kind of the noise of summer. But part of when you're coming into the neighborhood is you realize we're moving into a neighborhood where there's an established racetrack. And then the things they do in the community, whether it's their fireworks show, whether it's their interaction that they have with all the schools, with the Race to Read program, with all the other community service that they do, the people in the community have embraced the racetrack. And it's the only track I ever heard of when they were looking at moving that the community was up in arms, that they didn't want the racetrack to go anywhere. And so, but you can't do that overnight. It would be next to impossible to go into some place and build a racetrack and then try to get that entwined in the community you've got to kind of start early. And, that's, I think, part of why Englishtown got away with it for so long, because they were out there in the middle of nowhere for years, and then growth and sprawl until they basically were surrounded by people that had $1 million homes or multi-million-dollar homes. And all of a sudden, that Wednesday night, Friday night, Sunday afternoon noise wasn't so appealing anymore. And so the racetrack was forced into making changes. First it was sound walls and schedule alterations and other things. And finally, it was the death of the drag strip. And that certainly was one of the factors that played into that. As far as Fontana goes, I think with NASCAR, they're reconfiguring the racetrack, and the drag strip has always been kind of way out on the edge of the property anyway. And my personal thought from some of the stuff I've read, and I'm not no insight on this, and I'm certainly not saying it's gospel, was that they looked at and said, okay, look, this is what we're going to do with the racetrack. So this is what we're going to do with the parking. So this is what we're going to do with this. And all of a sudden, we don't necessarily need all of this extra land that is so valuable. We can either sell it or lease it. And then when you factor in, how much income does the drag strip generate, and how much of a headache does the drag strip generate? And you have to make a decision.
Simple as that. All right, Scott wants to know, are the Hoosier non-bead lock tires legal in NHRA for Pro Mod? Do you know what he's talking about? Hoosier Pro Mod tires legal in NHRA, non-bead lock liner.
I believe so. There's a lot of people in Pro Mod that do run Hoosier tires. I don't know exactly which tire they run, but I certainly believe they are.
Yeah, I agree as well, but we can always double check and appreciate that. And, folks out there, if you got a question, everybody seems to like the attention in the pits. New WFO Game Show 30-second shopping spree in Alan's t-shirt pile. They love your Alan Johnson Performance Engineering shirt. Aren't those available, though? Can't people just...
I think you can just Alan Johnson Performance Engineering and click on somewhere. But I just whatever's clean on top of the pile, basically.
Exactly. This guy says, I know a guy that can help you on tires. I don't know who that is, though. I hope it's one of the people that can help me on tires, though. Jolie Stanfield, will NHRA.TV be going live from the Pri Show? I know they're going to have a stage and a huge presence, and IRP is going to have a place there too. But I don't know if NHRA.TV is going to be going live. I don't have that information. Do you?
I don't know about NHRA.TV. I do believe that they're planning to do some stuff live on the Facebook page. I don't know if it'll be on .TV, but I think that some of the announcements and some of the stuff, I think they're going to have a stage presence. It's going to be very much like what you saw at SEMA, where they have people drop in from time to time and sit down and chit chat a little bit about what's going on, how's your show going, that kind of thing. So there will be some video presence coming out of there via NHRA. I'm just not 100% sure what exactly what channel or what format.
A lot of people going to be out there at PRI. A lot of people responding to the video game. This is a huge deal. And, the details will come out in time. But just touching people in different places other than the racetrack, right? Like you're at the track. Okay, we got them. They're on the couch on Sunday afternoon or watching NHRA.TV. All right, we got them. But there are other times, right? Hey, let's play the NHRA game. You bring your friends over. You're having a little gaming session. That's how some of these other sports, think about Madden, right? Madden, the video game for PlayStation or Xbox, etc. What that has done for understanding of the NFL, of defenses, of systems, offensive systems, players' names. It's little kids are playing this game and they're learning about the NFL, and then they get older and they're like, man, that's the guy from my team. Just being able to be a part of the person's life and play a game, I think it's great.
And hopefully it'll be what you just said. It'll make a connection between possibly some younger fans or even some not so young fans and a particular driver. And that's a huge thing. Wally's mantra for so many years was that the cars are the stars, that people come to see the cars. But I have always contended that people don't come to watch cars race. People come to watch people race. And if you've got a connection to your driver, that's going to get you to the racetrack. The number of people that come to watch John Force race is huge. The number of people that come to watch Leah race or to watch Erica race or to watch Sean race or to watch whoever your driver is race, that is huge. And that's the connection that needs to be made. So the better the connection that we can make between the stars of the sport. You look at how much attention Supergas got when Kurt Busch came over and run.
Yes.
Were all of the reporters and were they hanging out there late at night because they wanted to watch Supergas run? Of course not. They wanted to watch Kurt. And so you need to have some kind of a connection to that person. And that's part of why I think, when Greg and Erica had their dust up a couple of years ago, and I said on stage, don't fix this. Nobody wants to see you guys kiss and make up. Nobody wants to see you guys go out and have dinner and bury the hatchet. The fans want to watch my guy or gal kick the other one's tail. They got to have something to root for. And so that has always been a big part of NHRA. And, how you get away from the whole politically correct is a story for another day. But, you need to have a connection with your driver, which makes you want to go to the races and makes you want to watch the races.
Absolutely. Speaking of back to the subject on the tracks, just want to give some news. Jim mentions it. New England Dragway, they had a big vote. It was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And the shareholders voted to keep things as they are, a drag strip. And so that was great news from earlier in the week. New England Dragway.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of friends over the past few years.
But see, there's just so much of that stuff that happens that nobody used to know about. And so it wasn't a big thing. The first time I heard about that, I thought, so what? The number of times that something has come up where, somebody says, hey, I got a proposal to do this. Joe, I want to buy your drag strip. And you and I would go have lunch and you'd go, no, the drag strip's not for sale. Or you would look over there and go, no, the drag strip's not. And that would be the end of it. There was never really, but now we have the internet. So when somebody goes, hey, I heard Alan was trying to buy Joe's drag strip. Somebody goes, oh my God, Joe sold his drag strip. It's like, no, the fact that that's like, if every time somebody said, hey, that's a nice car, would you like to sell it? Everybody thought I was going to sell my car. Ain't happening. The fact that somebody else wants it doesn't mean it's for sale. And this, for the first time I heard about it, I thought, I've spoken to enough people that are invested in that program. Basically the fact that, the club ownership, which I love, and they are very passionate about what they do. And I just, I never thought that had any legs whatsoever. And I'm glad that it was put to rest at such a wide margin, right? I mean, it ain't like the vote was 51 to 52.
Right.
Was it 450 to 75 or some ridiculous thing? So yeah, I think that racetrack is safe for a while.
Excellent. Very, very exciting. And let's hope that more racetracks are safe. And even if they're not, people will build new racetracks. They'll be in a different location, but there's obviously a lot of money and there's a lot of upside, right? Like the thing is, drag racing is not a dying sport. There's going to be some changes that happen. And someone is out there, I don't know who it is asking, what do y'all think about the new class? I'm assuming this person means factory experimental. The buzz this category is getting already has been amazing. Maybe more so than Factory Showdown. Some people have suggested that, maybe it's dead on arrival because of, switching to, environmentally friendly stuff. I don't think so. I think these manufacturers, they want something to do with these amazing engines that they have spent so long designing, right? You don't spend all these years engineering something and then just pull the plug and throw it away. And this is a perfect place for it.
And I think there's enough of them out there right now and people that are excited and involved. Is it going to be around 50 years from now like Pro Stock has been? I don't know. But I think that it's going to be a very exciting new category, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see where it goes. But I think the performance potential is very high. The horsepower right now of those engines is Pro Stock-ish. The weight of the cars is going to be a little heavier. The tires are going to be a little smaller. There's just a lot of real upside to this. But I think the most important thing is that the cars are going to be identifiable. And nobody loves Pro Stock more than I do. But people don't look at Greg Anderson's car and say, that's just like my Camaro out in the parking lot. But people do look at Aaron Stanfield's car and go, that's just like my Camaro that's out in the parking lot. And I think that's going to be the real calling card. I think factory stock needed a bigger tire, and they're going to be allowed to do that now. They obviously needed a better chassis because just simply the weight of the car and what you can do with a stock floor pan car, you can only go so far as a spec, an SFI spec for performance. And they had bumped right up against that more times than was comfortable. So that needed to change. The fact that the new class is mandated to have a 4-speed or a 5-speed, I think is great. So I think there's a ton of upside here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them on the racetrack.
Yeah. What do you think about, I was seeing some photographs of, modified back in the day, right? Clutch cars, small blocks is kind of the same feel. I know we're calling it factory experimental, but cars that we recognize, except with blowers now, and a clutch.
Yeah, the difference, I think, is technology. Back then, modified was, most of the engines were junkyard engines. And I don't mean that derogatory, but I mean, if you needed a good block, you had to go to a junkyard to get a block. You couldn't just call Dart and order one. You couldn't just call Ford and order one, or call, Chevrolet, GM parts and order one, or the Mopar guys. You went and found what you could find. You did whatever you could do, and you made the screaming small blocks. It was a fun category, no doubt about it. But what we're dealing with today is modern technology. And that's going to be the difference between the old modified class and the new AFX, is that these cars are going to be as technologically advanced as is possible, when those cars were, in a vast majority, find junkyard parts and figure out how you can make them better.
Interesting. Derek says, I don't see how factory experimental will translate into an E-Class. As it was presented to me on the EPAR trade thing, that the chassis that will be designed and developed will be the chassis that eventually also can handle an E driveline, right? And, the specs and everything, what the cars will look like, what the bodies will be, and ultimately down the road, when each manufacturer is offering an E driveline, that they will fit into the cars. That's as it was presented.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why they wouldn't. You look at the two most prominent, probably electric cars, full-bodied cars that we've seen out there duking it out in NHRA, the E-Copo a few years ago, and the E-Cobra Jet that's out there now. And both of them are legitimate production line cars that were fitted with an electric motor and electric driveline. And so, yeah, it just makes perfect sense to me that the factory experimental cars, you would be able to do the same thing. If you could, and I know there was at least talk about it at one point with the Copo in particular, that you would be able to hopefully buy the electric package. And if you had a Copo, pull your gas engine out, pull the gas tank out, and you could install this and build your own. All you'd need was basically the starting shell. And so, yeah, I don't see why factory experimental would be any different. I think when they're putting this thing together, they will probably make some allowances for, okay, in the future, if somebody decides to do X, Y, Z, let's make sure that it's possible to do in this chassis.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot coming out about that. And it's just, you do a good job of saying it. Like and I'm not the only one here, but there's always like a little anxiety about talking about the electric stuff. Like even within our little world out there at the track, like, should we cover an electric thing? And it's like, oh, there's so much vitriol and negativity that comes at you for mentioning that you don't hate the electric stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, why bother? But that's a negative thing, right? This is drag racing. Next year in the Summit ET series, there's going to be a new category, and it's going to be electric. And so if you've got a Chevy Bolt, or if you've got a Tesla 3, or if you've got a Tesla Plaid, or whatever you've got, you can bracket race against other electrics only. And at Vegas, where we do the Summit finals, they're going to have an all electric class, and it's going to be people around the country are bracket racing. And so, like, I got to tell you, every time I bring it up, it's like, do I want to even bring it up? Because some jerk is going to be like, at me on the deal. But at some point, like, this is just going to become part of the situation. I would hope it would just become normalized.
NHRA, since the beginning of time, has been all inclusive. If you like fast cars, come on, right? Whether it's sex, whether it's race, whether it's religion, we don't care. If you like fast cars, come on. The diversity that we have as far as the people that we have involved in NHRA, whether it's on a weekly bracket basis or whether it's in the Camping World Series, other motorsports and sports in general envy, because ain't nobody even close to what we do. And it's exactly the same with the machines. Okay. NASCAR's got their Cup Series, they got their Xfinity, they got their trucks. You know, you can go down the list in stock car racing, whether you want to talk super late models or street stocks or mini stocks or whatever runs out of your local racetrack. That's all well and good. They don't have minivans. We do. You know, the
Right.
thing about NHRA is if you have a car and you want to go fast, we welcome you. I don't care what your car is. I don't care if it runs 19 seconds or if it runs 5 seconds. You're welcome. Come out here and go racing with us. And if your car's electric, come on. You know, it always fascinated me when the Sport Compact thing was making such a big push. And people hated those, right? Oh, they got this stupid muffler on the back and they sound like this. And you know, that's not real racing. Of course it is. When I was a kid, you could buy cars like that. I paid $1,800 for that car. It wasn't in quite the shape it's in now, but
Sure.
But that was the cars that were available. They were 10, 12, 15 years old, and you could buy them affordably. There were plenty of parts to make them go fast. And so I think everybody I know did exactly what I did. You bought a car, and then you put headers on it, and then you put a manifold on it, and then maybe you put a camshaft in it, or maybe you did whatever, and tried to make it go faster as your budget and as you know your ability would allow. And those were the cars that were available. So that's what we raced. You go back and look at what was, you know, the Sport Compact era when it was so big, and what the kids could afford to buy were old Hondas or Toyotas, right? 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And they wanted to make them go faster. So if that means you put a big old muffler on the back of it, that's great. If that means you put a turbo on it, that's great. If that means I don't care. They're no different than me. They were somebody that bought a car they could afford and then tried to make it faster. And these days, there are people buying electric cars, and the performance of electric cars is pretty impressive. No, it's not going to outrun a top fuel car, ever. That doesn't mean it's not pretty impressive. You know, everybody that I know would go to the racetrack and, you know, you'd kind of eyeball the competition and stuff. And, you know, oh, look, I haven't seen that guy before. You look at the car and go, oh, yeah. And then it goes out there and you go, holy smokes, that thing's fast. And you go talk to the guy and you get to know him, and welcome to the family, right? Come out here and join us. I don't care if the car's electric. If it goes out there and it's fast, others are going to welcome you to the family, even if your car's quiet. I mean, I don't know why you would push away somebody that's an enthusiast. And, you know, if your car's electric, your car's electric. Bring it out to an NHRA racetrack and race it with us. We'd love to have you.
There it is. And Chris Garrettson says bracket racing is bracket racing. What difference does it make if it's electrical or gas? Well, actually, the reason they're running against each other is because those electric guys don't have to deal with weather conditions, Chris. Like, it doesn't matter. The thing runs the same. But Richard Glenn, he's got a point, though. And this is just like, we got to get past this. He goes, we don't watch silent movies. Electric's great for eco marketing, but I want the sound. If you want the sound, don't get an electric car. Right? Like, but the person who wants to get an electric car, well, think of the type of sound too. Like, you like sound, Richard. And I like sound too. But back in the day, before corporate engines and everything, every manufacturer had their own unique sound, and people liked their own unique sound. I know Reinhardt likes the sound of a Ford, and I like the sound of a Pontiac. Like, there's different sounds, and there's no sound. There are people that think that those engines in the Coyote is too damn loud. Right? When they're going around the neighborhood at 2:00 at night, man, that's a loud car. But there are people who love it. And so what difference does it make if it's fast, right? And even in bracket racing, it doesn't even have to be fast. It can be slow.
But if you go to, let's just say a weekend bracket race, okay? If you go to weekend bracket race, how many electric cars are going to be there?
5.
A dozen?
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's 150 cars that make noise, and there's a dozen that don't, is that going to ruin your experience? I mean, if I go, and I'm a stock and super stock guy, right? If I go and I see a bunch of cars like this one back there, man, I love those things. But if somebody pulls up in a minivan, I don't go, okay, well, that's it, I'm going home. You know, if that's what the guy's got, that's what the guy wants to race, bring it. You're not going to ruin my experience at all. I'm going to root for the cars that I like. And if I don't like electric cars, then I'm going to root when they lose, right? Yay, we don't have to see the Tesla again. Great. That's what the sport was built on, right? My brand's better than yours. My guy's going to beat yours. And if you don't like electric cars, then just think how much you get to cheer when they get beat.
This guy says, I prefer to stay open-minded and try new stuff. Well, exactly. And this person is attacking me. Ask Joe if he ever got beat by an electric car with a baby seat in it, LOL, which the answer is yes. And the guy was dialed 1150, Alan. Like, that's the thing. My dad and I worked so hard. We changed the heads, the cam, the manifold, the carburetor, shift kit, headers, lot of hours in our 78 Trans Am with a 400 Pontiac to get it to run 1257. We were so excited. This guy goes to the dealership. His baby seat is still in the back. His family is watching him go, Lenny. And he's dialed 1150. And I was like, in my LS2 GTO, dad's car, thinking, 1150, man, that's fast. For something that he just drove off the street. So yeah, it doesn't make noise, but when he came thundering up on me at 118 miles an hour and made like the GTO got sucked over towards him because he was going so fast, it made me think. That's all. Like, I'm not going to discount any technology. But then again, at SEMA, they had a combustible hydrogen engine too. That is zero emissions, and it makes horsepower, 500 horsepower, and it's clean energy and still had sound. So we just don't know. I just prefer to not be that negative about anything. That's all.
When I was bracket racing on a regular basis, when I was doing the weekend warrior thing at the old Tucson Dragway out here, I had a 70 Roadrunner, had a 440 in it that would run like, depending on how much nitrous I used, it could run from like 12.0 to 14, whatever. And I used to go to the racetrack, and there was a guy out there that had a 66 or 67 Chevelle that had a trailer hitch on it that was faster than me. And that just annoyed the snot out of me. I mean, not like he showed up pulling a motor or, pulling a camper, but just the fact that a guy was out running me with a trailer hitch annoyed the snot out of me.
Yeah.
And the bigger problem was, he was a really good guy, right? You couldn't even hate him. He was just friendly and happy, but it's it is what it is. The first time I drove that car down a racetrack, I think it went like 15 something, and then over the years it got to be a little faster and a little quicker and then it sat for a number of years, and the incarnation it went through now. I actually had Sandy Wilkins called me the other day and said he ran across a set of the CFE Pro King heads for a small block Ford. And he's like, do you want them? And I'm going,
do it.
Let me think about it.
Do it.
Because I think it would be building a whole new engine. For those, I don't know if it's the holy grail of small block Ford cylinder heads, but I can show you a couple of engines with a single 4-barrel and no power adder that made 1,000 horsepower out of 400 cubic inches with those cylinder heads. So, part of me is like, ooh, yes, I'd love to. And then part of me is going, for what? What am I going to do with it? So I'm still thinking about it. I'm sure that I'll see Sandy at the PRI show and he'll go, well, do you want them or not?
And then you say, yeah, and you put them in your bag. This guy wants to know what the car runs right now.
Well, I'm going to sound like a racer here. Okay.
980.
It hadn't been that fast yet. When we put the motor on the dyno, it was on Rick Waters' dyno up in Phoenix with a carburetor on it. It made 686 with no oil and no vacuum with a carburetor. When I put it in the car, put fuel injection on it. It's got the Big Stuff 3 fuel injection, and so that's like a whole new tuning curve thing. I am not a computer guy. Joe, you've seen me deal with computer problems.
I've witnessed it, folks. It's bad.
So
bad.
What I did was I sent it to a guy here in town, a guy by the name of Bill Nelson, who's a racer forever and who is very, very well versed on the electronics. As a matter of fact, John Meany told me, hey, I'll hook you up with this guy who will help you with the tune. Well, I've known Bill for 30 years. So I just gave him the car because, it was going to be a process to make this happen. So during this process, I get a call from V Gaines. Now, this has obviously been a few years ago. It's like Tuesday. And V called me and he said, are you home? And I said, yeah. And he said, why don't you come keep me company? And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you in Tucson? And I said, yeah. And he said, me too. I'm out here at the racetrack. I said, okay. He said, we're testing. He said, I'm out here all by myself. I don't have anybody to talk to and I'm lonely. Why don't you come out and keep me company for a while? And I said, well, can I bring my car? And he said, I don't care. I'm the only one here. I said, all right, I'll head out there. So I called Bill and I said, is my car drivable? And he said, yep. I said, okay, I'm coming to get it. Here's the deal. I got an opportunity. I just want to take it out to the drag strip. All this thing has done is I go around the block and I spend a little time on the chassis dyno while they've been working on the tune. But I said, I just want to go drive it down a racetrack and make sure nothing falls off of it, right? I mean, it hasn't been out. It hasn't, new engine, new transmission, new everything. So he said, yeah, okay, great, come get it. So I threw the slicks in the back of the truck, went out, picked up the car, went to the racetrack, and the only thing I did was change tires. It had the full exhaust on it. I didn't have a shift light hooked up. I didn't have a two-step hooked up. I didn't even have the hood on it because the hood was last. It's so easy to work on without the hood on it, so I wasn't going to put the hood on until we were done. So it is a complete work in progress. And I took it out to the racetrack and I changed the tires. Now, Tucson is over 3,000 feet of altitude all by itself. And on this particular day, it was whatever it was, 4,200 or 4,400 or something like that. And so I pulled up and I did a brake burnout. I pulled up and I went, I don't even know. I mean, where do I leave? Let's try 4,500 and see what happens. And so I dropped the clutch and I drove the thing down. I mean, not like cruising, but not shifting like Evan either. So anyway, so I get down there and I come back and it went 1062 at 129 miles an hour.
Good speed.
And the guy from the racetrack comes over and he sticks his head inside and he said, you're running a little quick for your safety equipment. Now, I did have a jacket on because I owned one, so I wore it. And I had a helmet on, obviously. And so I gave my best little innocent smile and I said, got a lap belt. It's been here since 1967. It's still good as new. And he said, running 10s, you kind of need a roll bar. And I said, yeah. I said, I had no idea it was going to go that fast. I really figured if it went, 12.0, I'd be thrilled because we were still working with it. But so it has been 1062 at 129. It then went back to the tuner when they were kind of finalizing stuff. They've got 75 more horsepower on the chassis dyno than it had at that point in time. I would love for it to go 999 one time. And I know that would probably be the end of its drag strip career because at that point it needs a cage, not just a roll bar. And I'm not putting a cage in it. It's my street car. I didn't build it to be a race car. If I was going to go out and race it every weekend, then I obviously would update all the safety equipment. But I built it to be a ridiculously overpowered, obnoxious street car. And that's kind of why it's like I really probably don't need those new CFE heads, even though they're the most amazing thing in the history of the world.
There it is. So you'll get them. And we know. All right. Coming down the home stretch here and getting ready for PRI. What are you looking forward to most? Like the Drag Illustrated 30 for 30 under 30 is always a big deal. That's actually out. Dallas Glenn, Kid Chaos, Aaron Stanfield. They're all on the cover. Troy Jr. All on the cover, which I think that's cool. Love to Pro Stock. I'm excited about that. I'm always excited to see what's new, parts, pieces, cars. It's so racing centric as opposed to like running boards and lights like SEMA Show is. But what are you looking forward to most?
I'm just touching base with some people. I mean, there are a number of people that I see once a year at the PRI show. There are also a number of people that I see throughout the course of the year from time to time. And you know how it is in the pits, right? We're headed this way and it's like, hey, and you don't really get a time to, socialize, even if it's just 10 minutes, right? Just to catch up and, hey, how's it going and what's happening? I go there every year, not so much for NHRA as for me. Here in my shop, I do business with a lot of vendors, certainly not on, a grand scale because of what I do. But for all the people that I talk to, that I email with, it's nice to go see somebody face to face and say hi and say thanks and say, hey, I've got this project. I've got this thing. I'm looking at this. What do you got that maybe can help me out here? What do you got that I can look for in the future the next time I'm doing something like this? That's why I go to PRI. And I am just really looking forward to that. I need to go see Danny Jessel because I owe him an apology. And instead of calling him, I decided I'm just going to wait till PRI and I'm going to go see him face to face. And I'm going to say, hey, look, if you want to kick me in the shins, have at it because I screwed up and I deserve it. But that's why I go to PRI is for those face-to-face interactions. Wow.
Very exciting. Very interesting. And I'm excited too. Eric says, you guys know already, but we want to hear when Ron Capps is racing his announcement at PRI to tell us. I don't know, really. That's the thing is I do not know. And, ignorance on purpose, right? Like I do not know. And it'll be very interesting to see what's going on. But Alan, great job as usual. I'm waiting for a little breaking news right here. I said it at the beginning. I know you heard me. I'm waiting for a little breaking news to happen. And I don't want to overstep the news. You know what I'm saying? But it's like a second to second kind of thing. So, like I'm refresh, waiting to see. And then I can talk about the news. But it's exciting.
Can you say from what source it's coming?
Well, yeah, Justin Ashley. And someone's already in the comments section saying that AB just made the announcement, and I'm going with it. Here we go. Here's the breaking news that is coming out because it's already out there, apparently. And I'm pretty confident that Justin is going to be joining us on the show not long from now. Here we go.
Antron Brown Motorsports announcement.
Well, here it is. In another positive move to solidify their team's positions as top contenders in the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series, Justin Ashley Racing, which campaigns the Davis Motorsports Top Fuel Dragster, driven and co-owned by the 2020 NHRA Rookie of the Year Justin Ashley, and AB Motorsports, led by three-time Top Fuel World Champion Antron Brown, today announced they will be forming a research and development and marketing alliance between their organizations. The alliance will not only pair two of the most marketable Top Fuel stars behind the wheel, but also two of the most decorated Top Fuel crew chiefs with Ashley's Mike Green and Brown's Brian Karate calling the shots on the respective 11,000 horsepower teams. And this is up on NHRA.com now or any second from now. And, I think it's a great concept. And we should have seen it because Mike Ashley helped keep Antron Brown out there for a long time. And the whole Brad Mason, Brian Karate, whole thing, Mike Ashley was a part of that. So it only makes sense that Antron and Justin Ashley, two independent teams, would form an alliance to give them purchasing power for parts and technology and research. Justin will then benefit from Antron's partnership with Toyota. And again, news breaking right here on the air.
Yeah, unless your name is Steve Torrance, you need to have some kind of an alliance with a partnership in order to help your program. Steve, obviously, his dad with the part-time thing, but they've broken the mold over there, the Capco boys. But no, I think it's good. I mean, they are both, Justin, obviously a little younger than Antron, who's veteran now, but certainly not, beyond prime, so to speak. But they are both young, well-spoken, good-looking guys. They both, have got a lot to offer a sponsor, and I think together, even stronger than separately. You run into a situation where, Antron might not be the perfect face for every product you have. Justin might not be the perfect face for every product you have. So, is there an opportunity there to expand into some different areas or some different arenas? That's, a big thing of what partnerships and alliances are all about. So good on them. Obviously with Mike Green, spent so many years at DSR. He's got a great working relationship with Brian and Mark and Brad and the guys over there. So I think, this looks like a very, very smooth transition. The two are going to work together. And I believe Justin is going to run his race team out of the Don Schumacher facility as well. Don is going to be, Don's got a few extra square feet there that have opened up recently. And so I believe that's where the team is going to be housed. So they'll be working side by side, even when they're not at the racetrack.
Which is, frightening to the competition, but I like it. Okay. As much as I love the Capco team and I got great friends over there, and I think what they're doing is special and unique. People have to raise their game and get after them. They have to get after them. Justin's looking really good. He's great on the starting line. They were performing. They stepped on it. They realized, 470s, or excuse me, 370, high 370s, not going to do it. You got to step. You got to be able to run 60s. You got to be able to get after them. And in the countdown, Justin Ashley really did. And there was even an opportunity where, they could have put a dent in the Capco team, but Steve is Steve, and Steve got after him. This is what they need to do. They need to forge every reliable alliance that they can forge and get better, get quicker, get faster. And from what I understand, Justin Ashley will be able to join us on the show not long from now. So it is an undetermined amount of time, but not long from now, we're going to be hearing from the principal, Justin Ashley, and maybe even Antron Brown here on WFO. See, I told y'all there would be something on the show.
Yeah, you just have to drag it out long enough. Sooner or later, somebody's going to make an announcement. Let's just stay here and stay here and stay here.
And Reinhardt's talking about his car, and normally I would be like, yeah, let's keep it going. No, man, you keep talking about that Mustang, Reinhardt. Let's keep talking. Just stretch it out. And here we go. Thank you for that. I think it's big news.
You get me talking about my car. I can do that for a long time. So.
Yes, no, definitely. I definitely agree. So I'm going to wait for Justin to come on the air. I know you got to run because you're getting ready to go out of town. But I appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend. And it's going to be fun. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all kinds of great stuff going on. Big announcements, new parts, new pieces, new people, new teams, new alliances. Very exciting.
Yep, I am looking forward to it as well. Travel safe, and probably a pretty good chance I'll bump into you tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a cocktail in the hotel lobby or something.
Yes, I like that a lot. All right, Alan, great job. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. Chat soon.
There we go. Safe travels, Alan. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. Share the show if you like big breaking news coming out of the NHRA. And we are scheduled to have Justin Ashley on the show moments from now. These two forming a working alliance, a strategic relationship, however you want to call it. The breaking news has come out. Justin Ashley, Davis Motorsports, ABM forming a strategic alliance. And I think it's a big deal. I think it is a big, big deal. And just part of the great restructuring that is happening in the NHRA, the great reorganization of our teams from a super team like Don Schumacher Racing to multiple small teams, like kind of, something grows and then it kind of comes apart and then it all grows again. And if they are able to do what they have been able to do, they're going to get better. They're going to get quicker. What do you think about this new strategic alliance between Antron Brown, AB Motorsports, and Justin Ashley and his Davis Motorsports, Justin Ashley Racing team? Let me hear what you think in the comments section and see what's going on. Justin says, word has it that longtime tuner Tommy DeLago is headed back to Nitro Racing in 2022. I can tell you, Justin, that Tommy DeLago was in Nitro Racing in 2021. It's just nobody saw him because he was in disguise out there on the starting line working with Justin Ashley and Tommy D, man. So here we are in a world where there's more teams than there are qualified crew chiefs right now, where brain power is appreciated. All of a sudden, you've got all these people and all these opportunities out there with Tony Stewart and Leah. And why shouldn't Tommy DeLago be out there? First funny car in the threes. Don't forget that. World champion tuner. Knows how to, hit the home run. But since he is a big fan of Pete Rose, knows how to, stretch a single into a double. I'm excited. Tommy D should be there. And also, let's think about all the other folks who should be there. Now is the time. If I was a crew chief with talent, I would be putting my name out there as much as is possible because we learned. What did we learn over the past 5 years? Well, we learned one brain is probably not enough to compete at the championship level, that you've got to have a brain trust. And so a lot of the big brain guys are fractured now. So let's rebuild the brain trust and look at everybody. Look at everybody. You guys trying to scoop me on WFO. We were ready for this the whole time. What are you talking about? Posted it. Let's see. Posted 5 minutes ago on Competition Plus. Word has it. Longtime tuner Tom is head back to Nitro Drag Racing. The former crew chief for Matt Hagan, later with Coletta. One of two says Spence reportedly heading to Dustin Davis Motorsports to serve as assistant crew chief and Mike Green. Nothing official has been released, but have heard from multiple sources. Well, we'll try to find out just moments from now. So, all right, everybody. Justin Ashley is supposedly going to be joining us not long from now. Let's build that audience. Let's share the show. Let's get it going on. As I am very excited. Just got an incredible customer service from my TeePublic on WFO Radio after a shipping snafu. No one ever says I just got incredible customer service. But yes, thank you, Troy, for mentioning where people can get their WFO Radio t-shirts and gear and apparel. I might as well use some of this waiting for Justin moment for some self-serving purposes, right? So I got a camera in front of my screen, and I have to, I got to move the camera to see logins and this and that, et cetera, and so on. But I want everybody to be able to get a WFO Radio t-shirt for the holidays, right? Here comes the link. At very least, you can get great customer service. I bought myself a shirt. I got to tell you, the WFO logo on the front is huge. It is huge. So we're going to move it to the back. We're going to do other stuff. But with the wide F and open one, everybody seems to really like it. So coming at you, the web address for our web store where you can get some WFO gear, and not just t-shirts, by the way. You can get mugs and sweatshirts and long sleeve t-shirts like Reinhardt wants, and the wide F and open logo, which is great. And we're going to be updating more and more as time goes by, but it's very exciting. So thank you, Troy, for telling me about that. That's a win-win combo, talking about Antron and Justin. I agree. And the whole Mike Ashley. It's Mike Ashley, guys. Mike Ashley, who is, the guy won the U.S. Nationals. The guy has built winning operations in the past. And you can tell that strong relationships, they don't die. They just kind of move into different places. And once AB is going out on his own, Mike and Justin Ashley are able, Brian Karate, all those guys, that's where they all got together. But we're hopefully going to be speaking with Justin coming up in a little bit. Yes, big thanks to Alan Reinhardt for coming on the show. I think Antron Brown and Justin Ashley are sharing a shop together. That was something I heard at Pomona. Exactly. Everyone's very excited, waiting for our wide F and open shirts, wet furry otters. Joe, I like the term bob and weave. Yeah, you got to be ready. You're stretching, you're bobbing, you're weaving, you're getting ready. Put WFO on the back with a lot logo over the heart. What's a lot logo? Well, the thing is, we can't do different artwork with this current company. It's got to be the same artwork on the back and the front. But yes, that is what we are looking to do. The trophies for the Nitro categories will be awesome for 2022. What do you know? Tom Patz is from Cold Hard Art, who did that trophy back there before he was like super famous. Now he's super famous. But this one was built when he was, I think, still at DSR. Right. And it was like his side project. So imagine Van Gogh early on when he's still being commissioned to do stuff before he became the big artist. So that thing back there is probably worth like $20,000 or $30,000. But we're not selling it because it's the WFO Radio Fantasy League trophy. And everybody gets their name. Mr. Fantasy NASCAR, Hall of Famer in fantasy sports. He actually won it this year. How do you read the comments and listen to AR at the same time? Steve, I don't know, man. I don't know. Steve, are you Dallas's dad or a different Steve? Because I always wonder that. Antron is using the DSR shop, I think. Yes, he is. Antron is using a section of the DSR shop, and he told us on the EPAR trade situation that they have got 8,000 square feet or some large section that they can fit 3 tractor trailers and multiple cars in the pit space so that they can work on everything, but they can still go down to Don Schumacher Manufacturing and purchase parts. And that's what Don has done. He's really a very smart guy. You don't get to where he is without being very intelligent, and still loves drag racing. Like a lot of people, and I think it's a different Stephen Glenn. Okay. But don't be disappointed. A lot of people think that, Don Schumacher Racing has collapsed. And I don't think that that's the way to say it at all. Like the way I look at it is that Don has kind of, pushed the birds out of the nest and kind of recreating the situation. So he isn't out there every week, totally involved and invested in multiple race teams, trying to deal with all these sponsors and giving these, the young ones the opportunity. But at the same time, he's got this huge investment in a building. He's got a huge investment in machines and machine shop and the know-how, and everybody's working. So why not make it a win-win for everybody involved and lease the teams their real estate, the place to run the shop so that they don't have to move and go out and find new relationships and sell them the parts because they're going to be needing parts. They're needing the parts. So why not do that? And I think it's going to be great. DSR is very alive and very well. Well, exactly. I'm making some that will be very different from the average trophies. But you can't post a picture, though, of course, right? You can't email me, joe@wforadio.com, and send me a picture. You can't do that. So what do you think about the big strategic alliance between Justin Ashley and Antron Brown? I am eager to see what he has to say. And obviously, it's going to be very cool to watch them try to take it to the Capco team. And if you are the Capco team, and there's a story on NHRA.com right now, you don't change anything you do. You don't change anything. But it's got to be exciting. Like, those guys all love drag racing. It's got to be exciting to know that people are making money moves against you. They're making money moves as we speak. Reaction time. I don't know what that is. But yes, before Justin comes on, assuming he does, which may or may not happen, it's a mystery. Let's get those numbers up, guys. Share the show. Let me tell you about the people who made it possible for me to do this, right? Like our WFO Patreons who joined us last night on Ignition from all around the world. We had 2 Patreons from Australia, 1 from England, 1 from California, 1 from Oregon, a couple from Texas, a couple from Louisiana, and 1 from South Carolina, all participating in the show as part of their member benefits. Like, it was a great worldwide motorsport conversation thanks to the Patreons. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Get on there and support WFO Radio. But right now, the big breaking news, here he is. Share the show so we can show the world the new partnership, relationship, alliance, AB Motorsports and Dustin Davis Motorsports, Justin Ashley Racing. Justin Ashley joins us now. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, Joe? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for jumping right on here immediately. This is pretty amazing because, we were going to be on the air and you had this announcement and all of a sudden you're on the air and we're talking about the announcement. So thank you so much for doing this so immediately. And I appreciate it. I know there's a video on NHRA.com, but everybody's got all these questions. Let's just talk about the basics right now, though. You and AB, are you going to run out of their shop? What does this all entail?
So, in short, we're NHRA's newest teammates. We're going to be running out of separate shops. Just logistically, it makes the most sense, but we're going to be pitted next to each other during the races. We're going to be sharing a hospitality area. We'll have hospitality on each side. And, the main premise behind this is a few different things, but really when you look at it from a broad scope, we want to be able to get Antron's brain trust of crew chiefs in Mark Oswald, Brian Karate, and Brad Mason together with Mike Green. So that brain trust of crew chiefs can work together and share data and information on the track, and then track and want to work together. What we're continuing to do is work with our existing marketing partners and new marketing partners to help them further generate business to bring more relationships to the table.
Excellent. Now, how much of this has to do with the relationship your dad had with all of these guys back in the day?
Well, that's where it all started. To be honest with you, my dad, worked with Brian Karate and Brad and Mark and Antron back in 2009 when he owned the Matco Tools team. And that's really when I first met Antron, and then our relationship has grown so much since then. So this was kind of a natural transition for us. I think that it was a point that we always kind of wanted to get to, both teams. And I feel like now is the right time. Both teams are in a position to do that moving forward. And, the top fuel class is changing. We have some people coming back. We have the most elite drivers in the world, and everyone has to be on their A game. So I think that this is going to help us compete for those championships that we want to win.
Speak on that a little more. We were just talking about the Capco team. They've won 4 in a row. They're the pinnacle of the sport. Steve Torrance is an ace, and he's got this team that, if I was them, I wouldn't do anything, right? Keep doing what I'm doing. But you guys, you have to do something more. Otherwise, they're what they've figured out is just better than what everybody else had figured out. You guys have got to create these alliances to try to get after them.
Yeah, we do. I mean, let's face it, the Torrance is amongst many other teams. You know, you look at, Doug Coletta and Sean Langdon and the moves that they're making heading into this year. Two excellent drivers with an excellent tuner now moving forward. And, those cars are going to be tough. Brittany Force, Josh Hart, Leah and Tony Stewart Racing, in addition to what the Torrances have done, everybody, there's just such a good class of people right now. And everyone is kind of chasing that pinnacle, which is the Torrances. And my hat's off to Steve and Billy. They've done such a fantastic job, and what they've built and the consistency that they've been able to approach every season with is very admirable. And, this was our next move to try and make that next leap, that next step forward. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be extraordinarily difficult. It's going to take a lot of hard work, time, and commitment like it always does. But we're trying to be proactive. We're trying to be ahead of the game and put ourselves in the best position moving forward.
Talk a little bit about what is easier because of this, right? Like in the press release, which is out and available, everybody can go read it. And there's a lot of detail in there. But Antron mentions things like purchasing power, right? Like we're going to buy some cylinder heads. Well, no, now we're going to buy twice as much cylinder heads. So, maybe you get a little bit of a discount, just like anything else that people buy in life, except you guys are buying parts for Top Fuel cars. Elaborate a little bit on that, how the things that this helps you with.
Yeah, one of the big things is, like you said, is purchasing power. Where you might go and buy cylinder heads for one team, it's now for two teams. Or where you might buy, a certain amount of packs of clutch discs for one team, it's now for two teams. And when you get to buying products in bulk, really like in any industry, you get more of a price break. And that's important. We have to run these cars on a budget. That's just the bottom line. And you're only good as the people around you and the parts and pieces that you use. But having that buying power is going to help us economically moving forward. And, I think you'll see it. I think you'll see the results in our program, and I think you'll see the results on the racetrack.
How long has this been in the works for?
It's a good question. I feel like I'm saying it's been in the works since 2009. I know it's something that I've always wanted to do, but no, I mean, truthfully, it's something that has always kind of floated around. But I think this year in 2020, as we progressed through the years, where we really took a serious look at it. Obviously, we know ABM and Antron Brown Motorsports. He's going off on his own. He's his own team owner. And just knowing that and knowing the stable that Dustin Davis and I have over there with Mike Green and our team, we felt like this was the perfect opportunity. So I would say, really it's been in the works for a while, but really the beginning of this year. And then it just slowly started progressing throughout the year until it became reality.
And it definitely makes you stronger. It makes them stronger. He's got that Toyota Toyota Gazoo Racing relationship. And I've seen those guys work a little bit, and I pay a lot of attention to them. I don't know that you'll be a Toyota driver, but he is. And how can you not benefit from all that data and information that they pass along to Brian and Brad and Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to leave. There will be an affiliation with our team in Toyota. I really don't want to get into too many details right now. That'll be for a later date. But just by working with Antron Brown Motorsports, we're going to have access to that information and that data amongst a few other things. So, that's critical. Just to be even affiliated with a company like Toyota, when you look at the drivers that they have, the elite group of drivers and what they mean, not only to NHRA drag racing, but to other forms of motorsports and the mainstream media, to be affiliated with a company like that is really an honor. So, I'll get into a little bit further detail, maybe at a later date, but we will have access to some of that stuff thanks to Antron and Antron Brown Motorsports and his relationship with Toyota.
Are you going to be at the PRI show? Are you going out there? And
yes, I will be at PRI. I'll be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We have a few, thanks to Elon Werner, we have a few media appearances set up and, a few things going on, and hopefully over these next few weeks, these next few months, there'll be a few more announcements from our side coming out.
Very exciting. All right. So we might have Antron here in a few minutes. So everybody, share the show, tweet, let your friends know. We might have Antron on in just a couple of minutes. If possible, I'd like to get you guys at the same time. But let's look at the countdown that you had, because, man, there was a minute where I felt like if one race or another race, you had a couple of head-to-heads with Steve, you beat him once. It was a minute where I thought, man, Justin Ashley has got a shot to turn this thing on its head. Steve ended up being Steve, but take me back to a couple of those head-to-head runs with Steve, and what did you learn from them? Because they say you got to come close once before you can win it. Was this your come close season?
Certainly hope so. Hopefully we're having this conversation at the end of next year and maybe I'll have a better idea. But, this is my first countdown. Obviously, a lot of the reason we were successful is because of our team and Mike Green. He has so much experience. He's won 2 championships. He's participated in the countdown. So, he was obviously kind enough to share wisdom and advice about what it's all about. But, those matchups with Steve are so tough. I mean, the good news is when you're racing Steve 3 or 4 races in a row, especially when you get later in the rounds, you're probably doing something right, because chances are he's going to be there. And, we were able to come up, I think, on the right side of that maybe once, maybe twice during the countdown or around countdown time. And, just from those individual races, it was just kind of, I learned that, you always got to be on your A game. It doesn't matter who you're racing in the other lane, but especially with the Torrances and against Steve, that guy leaves so little margin for error that you always have to be on top of it. And you have to make your best run when you're racing against him, because he's not going to let you get away with anything, and neither is that team. So I think that was probably the most significant lessons. Did some good things against him, did some not so good things, but, things that I learned from and things that I've carried over into this offseason as I progress forward, and things that I'll move into 2022.
Well, exactly. You take everything and you move forward and you try to be good. We've got a shootout race right at the start of the season at Gainesville. There's a lot of money out there on the line. NHRA is going to have some big announcements about things that are going on behind the scenes. You said just moments ago that you're going to have some more big announcements. Try your best. You've been around the sport a long time with your dad to characterize where the sport of drag racing is right now, because I feel like we're always on this scale, like positive, negative. There'll be a good news story and then it'll be balanced out by a bad news story. Oh, there's a track closing. But maybe in the last 6 months, maybe since we got back from the pandemic, it's been mostly good news stories, especially on the business front. I spent last week on doing an industry week, ePart Trade, talking to industry leaders, and everybody involved in drag racing just had this overwhelming sense of optimism that I haven't felt this much in a long time. You're investing your whole life in this. Speak about that. And when you go to potential new sponsors, as I know you do, what are you telling them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that the NHRA is in really good shape right now. Obviously, like any sanctioning body or like any sport in general, there's going to be its ups and downs. So you don't really want to follow that flow. You want to try and stay linear. But when you look at the scale and the movement of NHRA, it's really changing. You had large conglomerates of teams really working together in large stables. And I think that you kind of see that separating now, which is healthy. You see AB going off on his own. We're off on our own, and now we're working together. You have Josh Hart, you have Leah Pruitt and Tony Stewart racing. So everyone's kind of in their own area, and I think that's good. I think it's healthy for the long-term growth of the sport. And when you're going to different partners, it's pretty much, listen, some partners want to see different things, but it comes down to the numbers. And when you look at the attendance numbers, when you look at the television numbers, when you look at the social media numbers, everything is pointing in the right direction. The arrow is pointing up, and that's what they want to see, and that's what I want to see. So I think it's only good stuff moving forward for NHRA. And that's my newest teammate right there.
There you go.
Yes. What is happening? You couldn't tell me about this right there.
You couldn't tell me about this last week on ePart Trade Industry Week, which is great because I got you right here. But there's always something brewing just under the surface, isn't there, Antron?
Joe, there's always stuff going on, but you just got to let a little bit out of time, just a little bit. And, but this has been a long time coming. And I'm just so happy and truly blessed to do this with Justin and with Justin over there at Justin Ashley Racing and Dustin Davis Motorsports. I mean, the thing about it is that we're just got a group of great people coming together. And when you bring people that have the same vision, that has the same drive, the same willingness to win on and off the track, and the marketing standpoint to the business standpoint, that's when you make unbelievable things achievable. And I knew it for my whole life. And I just go back, Joe, back from 2009. We were under the MAR banner, the Mike Ashley Racing banner. And that's where I met Brian Karate, Mark Oswald. I met Mike, his wife, Mindy, Justin, the whole family over there. And they were just incredible. And I remember Justin just being there chomping at the bit. He was just like, he was quiet, reserved, but he was always just in it to win it. And what I mean by that is that it's hard to tell people, like, very seldom do you ever find people not just have the passion. A lot of people have a passion to do something, okay? But a lot of people say that they have the drive. But the hardest part is finding the people that have the want to, okay? And the want to is doing the things that you don't want to do. You get what I mean? It's like going through the stuff, going through the trenches. And when I saw Justin come out and him and Dustin got together and they're out there digging in the trenches and saying, we're going to make this happen. We're going to make this work. And you see Justin's dad in the background helping, pushing and helping support. And then you seeing all this stuff come together with all their partners they have now. And they're out there competing as David against all the Goliaths out there. You know what I mean? And then for me, I've been a part of a Goliath race team for years here when I was with Don Schumacher Racing. And I know distinctly that we're going out on our own. And I was like, how do we beat all these big giants? You know how we beat them? By coming together. And we all have that rope now. And that rope was one of those big ropes that you use in like CrossFit class, right? But we all got a hold of it. And then we're all looking the same direction and we're pulling it together. We don't have somebody not pulling, not doing that. And when you're doing that, you could pull those big mountains down. And that's what I feel that we're doing together right now on every different front. And I'm excited. I'm enthused. I'm energetic. It feels like I'm 20 all over again, brother. That's what it feels like.
You look 20, like when you shave. When you shave.
Yeah, you see that. You see the gray right there. Yeah.
I got it too.
Yeah. I got the speckled beard.
There it is. Two separate shops at first, correct? But in the same neighborhood, clearly. But what other Justin already informed us, you're going to share hospitality. That's very important. That's part of the business. I don't know if the fans understand, but that's a big part of the business. You got big people in there from Matco Tools and Toyota, and Justin from Smart Sanitizer. You want to be able to entertain, and that's where things go down and people can watch. What else? What other synergies are there going to be, AB?
Well, the other synergies is, just starting right there, like you said, hospitality. That's our home. Okay, our shops are down the street for right now. We eventually will have a shop together coming up in the future, probably by mid-season. But the good part of it is that we're on the road 180 days out the year. Okay, so when we go to the racetrack, you're going to see Justin's semi, my semi parked like this. In between it, we have hospitality. So we can house all of our partners. You know what I mean? We don't have sponsors no more. They're all partners. We're all in this together, and we're all trying to move forward together. And then on the same token, it helps us in buying power and buying race parts and pieces. You get what I mean? Like, everybody knows how crazy this world is. So supply shortages of aluminum, metal, everything has skyrocketed. Well, for you to get the same price that you used to be able to get parts for, you have to order stuff way in advance. And you got to order big quantities. You get what I mean? Because the manufacturers want to see so they can make stability and they can actually have employees so they can actually produce all this stuff. They can't afford to have stuff sitting on the shelves no more, right? So when we have to order 10 cranks at a time, one team, you have to have a really, really bad month or a couple months to use 10 cranks at a time. So me and Justin, like, we're going to share on that. You know what I mean? Like, we order 10 cranks. Takes 5, we take 5, or vice versa. Don't make a difference, whatever direction is. Same thing with clutch discs. Same thing when we order pistons. Same thing when we order rods. Same thing when we order spark plugs. When we order blower belts. It's like you always get a price break the more you buy and the more you order. You know what I mean? So that's the whole thing. When you're coming together, we're able to share on all those fronts, and we're able to help each other out.
Awesome. Listen, I don't want to take too much of your time. I appreciate you guys doing this. But for PRI, everybody, this has been a PRI preview. And wow, what a preview for PRI. You guys getting ahead of the show with the big news. And I like the strategy too. And then both of you jumping on WFO. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. Hopefully people are subscribing as we speak. But give us your PRI, like where people can watch for you. Because I know, Antron, you probably have some appearances, maybe some booth stuff. I don't expect you to have all of that committed to memory, but whatever you got, throw it out there for everybody so they know where to look.
Lord, I will be at the NW Company booth at 9 a.m. on Thursday.
He's got his schedule. All right.
I will be.
You should know better, Joe. You know he's got it.
Hey, you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready, Joe. Right. But you know what? This is thankful for my homegirl Natalie Torrance.
Yes.
You know, and our people here, Allie and Ted, they keep me on the right straight path. And Drag Illustrated, 10 a.m. at the PRI HQ stage. And then NHRA at 11 a.m. NHRA stage and booth. We have a special announcement there too that I can't let out yet, but it's like,
a little bit at a time. AB, a little bit at a time.
That's just a little bit.
Coach him, Justin, because it's great seeing you two together. You get along real well too. But that's interesting because Justin's got this vibe as like the up and coming young businessman in the sport, right? And Antron, I want to say you're the old lion because you're not. You guys are kind of the similar generation.
No. Well, I wouldn't say that. See, Justin, you got to remember, this is the difference. Justin, how old are you now? Just like 26?
26, yeah.
So he's 26. I got 2 decades on Justin. I'm 45, brother. I know I look like I'm 30. I appreciate it, Joe. You know what I mean? Like, look, brother, chocolate, don't wrinkle, don't crack. We don't get old. You know what I mean? We just get a little whiteness on us a little bit. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is we try to stay in shape to keep up with the young bucks. But I still feel good, brother. And I'm going to race until I don't feel good no more. So I can't tell you when if that's 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. But I love what I do. And Justin, he came in and he took this class by storm. A lot of people don't realize like how good Justin is. Okay, it's like I'll put him in any race car against anybody, and he's going to go out there and compete. And I guarantee you, he's going to leave on you 9 out of 10 times. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
like a lot of people say 60. You know,
what Antron's leaving out is that 1 out of 10 times is when he beat me on a hole shot in Pomona. He's leaving that part out.
No.
Antron, everything that I just have to say, everything that I've learned about how to drive a race car, but how to represent yourself off the track too, is from Antron. He is the best representative NHRA has on and off the racetrack. So I could not be more excited. I know Antron professionally. I know him personally. And I cannot wait to see not only him as he thrives every year, but watch ABM, Antron Brown Motorsports, thrive this year and for years to come. It's an honor. It really is an honor to be able to race with him.
Yes.
It's going to be great, Joe. And like I'm telling you, like you see Justin here, I mean, the thing about it is he's so professional. I wish I had what he had that he has at his age. You know what I mean? It's like We've got people that's been in this sport for years that some of them get it and some of them don't get it. You get what I mean? A lot of people will come in and they'll get this shot to be in our unique sport and be on this stage, and they will take they take it for granted. You get what I mean? They think that somebody owes them something. And the thing about it is what I've learned and the mastermind behind it is John Force was always one of my heroes, like Big Daddy Don Garlitz and Kenny Bernstein. I'll go like Joe Amato. I have a big list of people I used to look up to, you know what I mean? But John Force, what made him so special is that he's never forgot where he's come from. And that man works every day. Like if he messes up, that he's got to go back and be a truck driver again, driving loggers, like a trucker that drives logs up and down the highway.
Yes, back to poverty.
Exactly.
Right where he is, back to poverty. Exactly.
Like, he used to live in a trailer home. And I'm happy to say, and I can tell you this. My wife is right behind me. She will tell you, baby, look, smile, turn around. We lived in a trailer home in Louisiana. We lived in a 16 by 48. Okay. I remember it like yesterday. Okay. And the funny part is that you work each and every day like it's your last. And when I look at, and the more of my stories, when I see Justin, that's what I see. He puts the work in. He's got the attitude. He's got the charisma. He's got the driving ability. And it's very so often that you ever get, like you'll get pieces that apply. You'll get people that are great drivers, right? But then they're not a good racer.
Right.
Then you'll get people that are a great spokesperson.
Yes.
That are a great racer, but not a good driver. You get what I mean? So very seldom do you get the full pie and wants to work on their craft. You get what I mean? And that's what you have in Justin. And the thing about it is, that's what I do each and every day, is that I'm constantly working on my craft on and off the racetrack. And that's when you see a champion, okay? Even though they haven't won a championship yet, I see a champion. And that's what we have in Justin Ashley. And that's why this alliance is so important and crucial to us, because I think that we can grow leaps and bounds together, and we could do a lot more together if you got somebody else holding that other handle of that wheelbarrow.
And that's it. The team. You guys, great. And just use the word partners and teammates. I love it. But one last thing before I let you go, because Justin just brought this up. Justin, you brought up Pomona, right? Pomona, this guy at Pomona, first round, like, got after you. Man, Antron, didn't you know that Justin had put a WFO sticker on the front of his wing so that he would have good mojo and get us publicity all throughout the Auto Club finals? And you went out and took him out first round. And you destroyed the publicity for WFO radio. The guy puts it. We got better TV time than ever before. The logo was this big on Fox Broadcast Network.
Hey, Justin, let's put that down note. No more WFO stickers on our car.
Uh-oh, Joe. Uh-oh.
If that's not to you.
You see, you got to be careful. We got to be careful now with what we say. We got to be careful.
You know what we got to do, Joe? I think that Justin and myself, we're going to help you out, okay? I think we're going to take a WFO sticker, and we're not going to put it on the front of the race cars no more, because obviously that we don't want that.
Didn't work.
We're going to put your sticker right by our throttle linkage on our deal for WFO, because it's wide
effing open.
Right? I didn't say it.
All right. Well,
so we're going to put it where it belongs. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that! Right. Oh, I like that. I like that.
Those are our shirts.
Hold up. Look.
You know he's gonna get one for Billy Joe now too.
Hold on. Let's see.
All right, here we go.
What's that?
Oh,
okay.
Look at that.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Watch this.
Ooh. One team, one mind, one purpose. AB Motorsports. I like it. Boy, this is, guys, isn't this fun? Isn't this fun watching everything change? Like, I know you, Antron, both of you guys are passion guys, right? Which is why I love having you on. And this has been so great. But watching you go through this now and up to this, it's great. But I don't want to take any more of your time, right? I know you talk to me all day long and I appreciate it, but you got to go talk to other people and share this passion. Get it out there. Get ready for PRI. Hey, is it cold up there, Antron? What's the temperature, man?
It is freezing up here. It is 28 degrees, Joe. Brother, let me tell you something.
Right. Yeah.
It is time to go. I'm coming down to Florida with you.
Yeah. I'm down. You know, it used to be in Orlando, but me and Reinhardt were just saying it's better in Indy, except for the cold. Gentlemen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for doing this. This was tremendous. I'm so excited. And this is about the excitement for 2022. We're just going to build it. You keep releasing those little nuggets. We'll keep talking about it. We'll go to the holidays. We'll get ready. And 2022 is right around the corner. But thank you and congratulations on this deal. I appreciate both of you. Thank you for sharing it on WFO Radio.
Thank you so much,
Joe. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys are the best. Thank you.
All right.
There goes Antron, and there goes Justin. Thank you, Justin. And how about that, guys? How about that? What can I say? I'm humbled because they agreed to just jump on the show. Like, we're going to be live on the air. Do you want to come on? Yes. And here they are. And to say those things and do those things and be who they are, it's like, I don't even know how to react, except for I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And everything Antron said about Justin, I totally agree with. And we all know Antron Brown, what he is capable of, 3-time champ, and the guys at the team, Brian and Mark and Brad and Matt Sackman, and all of those guys that we've gotten to know over the years. They are winners, they're champions, and they're going to cross-pollinate with Justin and his team, and they're going to learn a lot. And I don't even know what to say. That was awesome. And if you love drag racing and you've got Facebook or YouTube, please share this. Let's get it out there, man. Share it so that everybody else can see what we just saw. All right, let's get some final comments in the comment section. And I can still see AB. I don't know if he knows that. I'm going to kick him out. Later, AB. Thanks, brother. We have to do a t-shirt swap. How about those shirts? All right, let's see what everybody else has to say. Final thoughts, guys. Final thoughts before we bounce out of here and go get ready for PRI. Get ready to travel at 6 a.m., right? But now it's 2 teams. Yeah, it's 2 teams out of 2 different shops for now. But in the future, they'll run out of the same shop at some point down the road. Nomad Don, how about Pomona? I'm surprised it's still there. Let's not go negative, Don. Let's not go negative. They both share the look of dreams becoming reality. Congratulations. Absolutely agree. This sport is having a moment. Drag racing in general, you can think about the Street Outlaws and the No Prep Kings, and you can, going back to Pinks and Rich Christensen, like all of that has been building for 10 years. Cars, car culture, powerful cars, the factory cars, the manufacturers being involved, all of these things have been building. And people have been wrong when they thought that there were silos, right? Like these guys are successful and those guys. In the end, the NHRA is the pinnacle of drag racing. It is the professional league of drag racing. And so how can all of those successes and interest not ultimately culminate with great things happening at the NHRA? And I believe that they're all related. I believe that the 50 pro modified cars in down there in Bradenton, I feel like it's all related. We're coming back from the pandemic thing that happened. You know, some said it wasn't even a thing. It was a thing, obviously, but we're fighting through it and we're winning and we're coming out of it. And we're ready to do different things now. People are ready to go and get after it. And if they had a dream that they were going to chase 20 years from now, they're chasing it now. And we're seeing it. And it's special. Drag racing is having a moment, and a sport that's in its 71st year coming up. What can you say? Jim Essex says, effing awesomeness. Fantastic show today. Thank Mark Young. Fantastic to have them both on for the announcement. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Elon. Elon, who is just, has been a great friend and done a lot of helping WFO behind the scenes. We just got to texting right before the show, and this is what happens. And thank you. 28 is way better than 98, in my opinion. 2 great guys. They will do well in 2021. 2022. I know it's hard to think. Good job, says Steven. Great show today, says Monica. Thanks, Joe. See you in Indy. Time to play the music. That's right. We're going to get it on and get up on out of here. But wow, the quick little show. Yeah, I'll jump on there with Reinhardt. 45 minutes. Bing, bang, boom. Off to PRI. Nope. Massive announcement. Drop. Change the plans. Flip the script. Justin Ashley. Antron Brown. Teammates. 2022. That's what WFO Radio is all about. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. All of you listening on the podcast after the fact, share the show, guys. Timmy Roach. What's up, Timmy? Good to see you, brother. Now the time for the game show. Yeah, exactly. Now it's 2 teams, referring to his shirt, said 1 team. Oh, yeah. Well, they're 1 team together, but it's not 2 teams. They're 1 team together. I get what you're saying, Derek. Sometimes I'm slow. Alan's T-shirts. Yeah. Well, you know what, Gary? I have got an idea, actually, for a game show about exactly this. So, hush. I've got a whole concept. When do we hear about DSR future plans are? They're going to run Tony Schumacher, and I think PRI, we might hear something. Awesome show. Thank you, Darren. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We learned so much. Over an hour ago, we knew so little. And now we know so much. Check out the Ignition Show. A lot of talk about the Bathurst 1000 and Formula One, all the chaos, if you're into that, but also a lot of drag racing. We're all fans of all of it. And yesterday, Sean Bellemere on the show talking about this incident, and Rachel Meyer talking about getting married and what future plans she has coming up. It's all happening. All right, guys, I'll see you out there. PRI Trade Show, Thursday through Saturday. I'll be there, will you? If you see me, shout out WFO. We'll hang out. All right, guys. Thanks to AB. Thanks to Justin. Thanks to Alan. Later, guys.